IVM.
If you like IVM Likes, you should definitely check out another show from the IVM network called Geek Fruit. It's a show where three geeks, Tejas, Jishnu and Dinkar, talk about everything science fiction, adventure, fantasy, movies, TV shows, everything. So quench your thirst for geek conversation every week. Episodes out every Monday and Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, the IVM website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Nice. Hey guys, welcome to a very special episode of IVM Likes. Why is it special, Madhuri?
Because it's the 150th episode.
The 150th episode.
Yeah.
Well, I've been on,
crazy.
I think, about 6 to 7 episodes, I would say, right now. By now, you, Jude, how many episodes of IVM Likes have you been on?
3?
3. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And Madhuri?
I've been on more. I've been here for 10 months.
Yeah, 10
so,
months.
Yeah.
So 10 months worth of IVM Likes episodes.
That's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
So awesome, man. 150 episodes. That's a huge...
But you know what?
What?
The old staffers are not here. I don't know why.
Yeah. Why aren't they here?
I don't know. Is that a suspense? Is that a mystery?
Yeah.
Are we going to
What
have
could
them?
it possibly be? It's maybe because in the second half, we're going to have Amit on. Amit is the founder, or is the co-founder of IVM. And we're going to have Abbas and Alika on. Both are producers at IVM.
Yes.
And Alika is our amazing graphic designer. And we're going to have them on to discuss the history of IVM and IVM Likes. In the second half.
So I think they're
crazy.
preparing
Exciting.
really hard for that.
Yeah.
So till they come and join us, let's begin with a round of recommendations.
Yeah, as is usual for IVM for a typical IVM Likes episode, in the first half of IVM Likes, we have a recommendation round
Yes.
where we will recommend some awesome, cool things that you should be checking out if you haven't already.
Yeah.
So, who would like to start? Jude, would like to start?
Madhuri would love to start.
Oh, Madhuri.
Okay.
All right. We just put it on Madhuri.
Yes, cool. I'll go first. I'll be the first one.
All right.
Okay, I have a series to recommend.
Yeah.
It's called Please Like Me on Netflix.
Okay.
It has 4 seasons. Had started in 2013 and ended in 2016. How did I come across it is, I sit on the recordings of Gaby CD. Like I produce their show. So yeah, Gaby CD is yet
Is
another show
on
on
our
our network. You should definitely check this out. But Farhad and Sunitro have crazy recommendations as they also talk about their day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
Okay, so they talked about the series Please Like Me. So I was just browsing through and you won't believe, just one episode in and
Yeah.
I got hooked to it. I literally got hooked to it because the characters are so well written. It's about this guy whose name is Josh
Yeah.
and it's his day-to-day life as he navigates into his adulthood, but he's really awkward. You know those people who can talk to each other if they sit in the setting,
Yeah.
but they're really awkward when you put them in social circles.
Yeah, correct. I get it. Yeah,
So
yeah.
all the characters are really awkward there. They
Well,
walk
it's-
like
I
this and yeah, so it
I think it's my story.
yeah, in a way you can say that.
Thank you. Yeah.
And apart
Thanks for
from
agreeing with that, Madhuri. Like, yeah, you are awkward, Antariksh.
no, but you have said that enough. I haven't seen you so much in those
Okay.
social
Yeah, I
circles
get
to
it.
really form
Okay,
an idea.
Fair enough.
But this guy also discovers that he's gay and he falls in love with another guy who's muscular gay. Now this one walks awkward, looks awkward,
Okay.
and he loves a guy who has muscles and all, and everyone looks at him and tells him, but dude, you have muscles, how can you be gay? So all those stereotypes also get broken.
Correct.
And he has to move in for some time with his mother because the mother is depressed. So it talks about depression, it talks about old age, it
Okay.
talks about adulthood,
Yeah.
it talks about friendships, people being awkward in social circles,
Yeah.
very brutal, honest.
Yeah.
It's about their sexual lives. It's
Wow.
crazy. You should definitely check this out.
Wow. So his mother is suffering through depression in the show?
Yes. And mother and father have separated. I don't want to give away the whole story, but
Okay.
as I said, there are plethora of characters
Okay.
and all of them are so poignantly written. They're very real.
Yeah.
They cry and it's a lot of conversations.
Okay, wow.
So yesterday I was watching one episode where his friend tells his father that, you are a great dad. And this dad looks at Josh that, really, am I a great dad? So Josh says, you know what? I never thought about that because you are dad. I thought you were just there, like moon. Like moon is there.
Yeah.
You never say it's a great moon or something.
Yeah.
So that's why he never thought that his dad has been really great to him.
Wow.
Things like that. And
Yeah,
it really...
small things, yeah.
It really...
So this is a show on Netflix that ran
Yes.
for 3 seasons, right?
Yeah, 4 seasons.
4 seasons.
I'm on the 3rd season. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's so cool. Okay, thanks so much, Madhuri. Oh, Jude, what about you? What's your recommendation, man?
So my recommendation is on a Netflix original documentary,
Yeah.
which is called Who Killed Little Gregory. So this is on a boy who died at the age of 4 in, especially on 16th October 1984, where he was found dead in the river Boulogne in France.
Yeah. Murder, obviously.
Murder, obviously. And the investigation of the little boy's death was done in such a way, and this in the documentary is shown in such a way that, they recorded every call, every threat that was sent to the parent. The parents,
like
especially
before the child's death.
Yeah, like no. Afterwards, obviously, when he was missing, when he was really missing.
Oh, okay.
And then later they found him just after 5 hours in the river Boulogne.
Damn.
Yeah.
So why were the parents getting threats though?
They were getting threats.
Sorry. What I'm trying to say is,
See,
the parents
he was missing within those 4-5 hours.
They
were getting
threats.
calls. Yeah.
Oh,
said we will do this and we'll do that.
That's so freaky.
And everything is in French. And everything how detailed they show, and it's really spoofy.
Yeah.
It was really creepy for me.
Yeah.
The way they were showing the place that was in, and the way he was playing, in that sand or the rocks. And then after that he went missing. So, and guess what? And there's only 5 episodes of this documentary.
Yeah.
And even it revolved around the mother, the father, and every possible family member. And they were suspecting someone within the family. So now if I go further, I think I'm going to spoil this documentary for each and every one of you. So please check this out. And it's 5 episodes.
What is it called again?
Who Killed Little Gregory?
Who Killed Little Gregory? Dude, so again, Jude's voice perfectly complemented that recommendation. Because he put it like, and there is this guy.
Documentary kind of voice.
And we don't know where the body was.
No, but really. Oh my God.
They got threat calls.
Do you think his voice can be threatening? Like he's the one who makes these calls. Can his voice really threaten someone?
Jude's?
Yeah.
If he wants them to, for sure. Say something. Say, I'm gonna get you.
Imagine I'm the kid you have kidnapped because you always treat me like a kid. Like he looks at me as if I'm a kid because of my height. So go on.
Yeah.
Regards. Give me a situation.
He's my dad.
Okay.
I'm the kid you have kidnapped.
You're gonna give me a call. Okay. I pick up. Okay. Hello. Yes. Who's this?
This is someone you don't want to know. And
what?
Then
why did you call me?
Do you find anyone missing in your family?
My wife is right here.
Yeah, and then what about your little one?
What about my little one?
They're playing. Why don't you go and play with her?
Are you...
Daddy!
Oh my gosh.
Madhuri?
I've kidnapped you already. Oh my goodness.
What do you want?
Okay, your voice can sound creepy. Jude. Please don't call me in the middle of the night and talk like that.
Hello, Madhuri. How are you?
I'll take your son, Madhuri.
He really went into the character with his eyebrows and all. And this is the most confused daddy. He's literally this awkward daddy.
He doesn't know where his child is. He's such...
Why was right here? Do I have a child? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. So Antariksh, what do you have for us, man?
Yeah.
For you guys, I have... So one of my favorite things, I keep recommending something in comedy. That's just...
This is
what I am. One of my favorite things is to see shows with comedians and other comedians on it. Like the host is a comedian, the guests are comedians, and then it feels like a show for comedians by comedians that other people also enjoy. So I'm saying if you're a non-comedian, you can also watch them. Please watch these shows.
Yeah, we got that.
So I'm gonna recommend. Because they lead into each other, I'm gonna recommend 3 shows.
Okay.
The first one is Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn. This is a show in the 90s.
Okay.
Colin Quinn was before getting his own Comedy Central show. He was the host of a Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live for a while. He has had an illustrious career, and he had this show where he would get on like Mark Maron from WTF Podcast. His basically first few TV appearances were on this show. Louis C.K. whatever you think of now, his first few TV appearances were on this show. And Patrice O'Neill, Greg Giraldo, Bill Burr was on a few times, Dave Chappelle was on the show.
But what is the show about?
So the show was about, they would talk about something in the news, and then these guys have to basically on the spot, or maybe they have some time right beforehand, but on the spot come up with the most offensive take on that topic. Like basically just like an outrightly just so bizarrely offensive that clearly it's like a joke. So like it really made you think like, oh yeah, you can. It's obviously great to joke about these things because it's out there, dude. And it's a great way to cope. So that was a cool way. And you get sometimes into heated mock arguments. It's like, no, my point is worse than your point. Like, this is really, really fun. Yeah. So that was that in the 90s. So then in like the early 2000s, actually late 2010, around 2010, there was a show on Comedy Central called At Midnight with Chris Hardwick. That came out. Chris Hardwick is also the host of another podcast, the very popular podcast called The Nerdist Podcast. And right now it's called the ID10T Podcast.
Okay, but recommendation and recommendation.
Yeah, so correct. So this is At Midnight with Chris Hardwick. Again, it's a show where we'll talk about the latest happenings on the internet and just like come up with like just like quick like I don't know, one-liners on it through
this
comedians, like a panel show. At Midnight on Comedy Central. Again, yeah.
Where can we find it otherwise? If
I don't know, where do you get Comedy Central shows? I don't know.
YouTube. I watch Key and Peele.
I don't know if you do
Comedy Central.
Can you talk about using VPNs? Because if you use VPN, you can use VPNs, right? That's legal. Yeah.
What is that?
So VPN is it masks. You can't be tracked on the internet if you're using a VPN, and it changes your location because sometimes certain videos are not. You can't view them, say on YouTube in your country, right? So you change your VPN to that place ka country. So like you say the USA, and then you can view that video. So the same thing, you can go to the Comedy Central channel and you can watch all these episodes, but sometimes they're not available in our country, so you can just change your VPN and you can watch it. So At Midnight with Chris Hardwick, and the third one, which by extension now, so At Midnight went on till 2015, I want to say 2015 or 2016, and then now there's a show which David Spade has on Comedy Central, which is again similar in concept to At Midnight and Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, which is called Lights Out with David Spade. Lights Out. He again gets like 3 other comedian friends, and they just talk shit about the latest goings on in pop culture, on some crazy celebrity news, and it's just the funniest thing.
Great.
So yeah, just 3 recommendations. Doesn't usually happen, but I ran through them. In all fairness, okay.
I think he was scared that none of us were going to come for this episode for recommendation round.
Yeah,
so he has all the recommendations on himself that I'll recommend 3 things.
Yeah, I have one more, but I'll let you go.
Sometimes I think when he starts recommending that this is his podcast in a way where he's talking about comedy and he can literally go into comedy and forget everything about IVM Likes.
That's what I totally think. Like, I could literally talk about, dude, if I had to list down everything that I could recommend, we would be here for days. I literally think that because I love comedy. No, I don't know.
I think you and Abbas should do a podcast together where you just talk comedy. And you call it Talk Comedy.
Comedy Talk.
Comedy Talks.
Yeah.
Okay, by the way, guys, I should also tell you that I have a new podcast on IVM Network. It's called Tapri Tales.
Yeah.
And I bring it at this point because the name Tapri Tales was suggested by Antariksh.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Correct.
So I just come out and I was telling them how Tapri, to reclaim that whole space, Tapri, where you also see women and most of my stories. It's a Hindi storytelling podcast where I tell you stories in Hindi and all my characters are women characters. Like they occupy the center stage. So I just went out and I was telling them, Tapri ke aspas kuch naam socho and all. And Antariksh, the fun way that he is, he'll just keep throwing random words and he said Tapri Tales and I'm like, wait, this really sounds turtle and it's really amazing and everyone in the staff loved it. And so we call it Tapri Tales. So new stories come out every Thursday. You check it and remember the name was suggested by Antariksh.
So not only the name, but the stories inside it have so much of detailed information about each and everything that she talks about.
Okay.
You know, she picks up even objects, she'll make it into a story, and which is like to just sit in the tapri rather than having just your chai and then gossiping and talking about tumhe salary mila kya and all that. But apart from that, you can just hear your stories and. Wow, you'll really be fascinated.
Yay. Yeah, that's so cool. Can we talk about what other names that we could have possibly had for the show? Like
what were the names that we were thinking of that got discarded?
Yeah.
Wait, let me think about it.
Do you remember?
I had made this big... yes. Abbas had made fun of this. I said story Alika bag. story
It's a
wali ka
long-
bag. So yeah, something with story wali and all. So he said, ये तो ऐसा लग रहा है मेरा swag वाला bag.
That's right.
मतलब उसने वो टाइटल ही मेरे लिए बिगाड़ के रख दिया. And everybody from there
But
they went to.
it's a good thing to have a swag bag.
Yeah,
Why
but
is a
he
swag
said
bag
ki it's
bag?
more. It reminds people of that YouTuber, and then we went to Dinchak Puja and all those funny videos.
Yes.
And my stories are nowhere near that. So yeah, Abbas has made fun of most of the names that got discarded.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were thinking of Kathakara, story wali, because we wanted to bring in the idea of a female storyteller.
Yeah, correct.
That's
Great.
So,
That's great.
what days are fresh episodes of this
Fresh
show?
episodes go out every Thursday. So
Every
every Thursday, I'm
Thursday, guys,
telling you a
catch
new
that.
story. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is also one recommendation.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Wow,
I
there you
also
go.
gave up with two
Recommendation.
recommendations. Yeah.
Jude, you want to even it out?
I think we should hurry now for the
Yeah,
second
for
half,
the
which is
second
going
half.
to be very interesting because
Yeah.
we have many people on board and we have lots of questions for them.
Yeah, correct. We do.
Yes.
So,
So,
we see you soon on
see
the
you soon.
second half. Just stay tuned.
Thank
Be
you so
informed.
much, guys.
You.
Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you are not following us on social media, please make sure you do. And it's about time that you did. So we're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Go to whichever platform you prefer or all three of them and click and follow. Also, you should check out our Instagram feed. We have a lot of interesting stuff going on over there. Peeks inside what's going on in the studio, polls, all kinds of cool stuff. So definitely come out there. Want to thank our sponsors this week, Cambly, Intel, and Storytel. Our sponsors make this stuff possible, and so please make sure that you shout out to them. Let them know that you appreciate it. One more note before we get into talking about what went on in the network this week, and that was that I would appreciate, deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate it, if you guys could go to ivmpodcast.com/survey or go to the website and click on the survey heading. And what we're going to do is we're going to do another listener survey. We'd like to know a little bit more about you, who's listening to us, why you're listening to us, what you want out of us, all of that kind of stuff. So, it would be really, really helpful to us if we could get a little bit of more information from you guys about who you are, and that would help us kind of go out and talk to advertisers, which is, again, as I mentioned earlier, how we get this thing going. So this week we're premiering a new Hindi storytelling show. It's called Tapri Tales and it's hosted by Madhuri Advani. Madhuri narrates day-to-day stories and occurrences in women's lives across generations. This week she questions the tea-serving traditions in our house through the mother and daughter pair in her story called Chai Ki Cha. On the scene and the unseen, JP Narayan, founder and president of the Lok Satta Party, returns as a guest to talk to Amit Verma. They deep dive into the state of Indian politics. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam is in conversation with Dr. Vijay Malik. He talks about his blog, why he believes in stocks, and what is peaceful investing. On Football Shitball, Gaurav, Karthik and Siva round up the EPL fixtures of the weekend, last week's Champions League's madness, and the FPL. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by Turkish entrepreneur Efe Kakarel, founder and CEO of Mubi. They talk about the different kinds of cinema and its reach. On Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurabh are joined by Kabir Taneja, a fellow with the Observer Research Foundation. They discuss the psychology of terrorists and the Islamic State's online propaganda machine. On The Habit Coach, Ashton shares 4 traits that one needs to be lucky and to approach the world in a positive way. On Heel and Hearty, Rachna talks about the importance of organic foods and unravels the myth and realities behind organic produce. On 9XM Soundcast, Eva is joined by playback singer Divya Kumar, who talks about the importance of folk and classical music. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
Hey guys, welcome back to the second half of the 150th episode of IVM Likes. Joining me in the second half along with Madhuri. Hey Madhuri, say hi.
Hey.
And joining me in the second half along with Madhuri is Alika.
Hi.
Amit.
Hello.
And Abbas.
Hi.
Hey guys, excited to be on the 150th episode, are we?
Yes.
Surprised
I'm
we've got to
amazed,
150
yeah. 3 years,
episodes.
that's almost 3 years,
150.
yeah.
Yeah.
3 years of IVM Likes. That's so cool. So Abbas, you've been on.
3, yeah.
Yeah, you've been on
Oh,
since the very
50 a
beginning.
year, right? So,
Yeah, I've been on. I debuted on episode 3 or 4.
You debuted.
Yeah. Then I was on episode. Actually, yeah, that was the very first podcast I was on ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool.
And I remember my very first recommendation as well. It was a Stephen King book, Finders
Oh, wow,
Keepers.
okay.
Yeah.
Amit and Charanya were with me on the episode.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The whole idea was Sharanya's, right? If I understand.
I
right?
think so, yeah. The idea was let the staffers talk about what, because we used to
Yeah.
talk about this anyway. What
Yeah,
are you
that's
reading?
So,
What are you watching?
there was a podcast by the, it's either New York Times or NPR called Pop Culture Happy Hour.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
And the thought was that, they do a lot of stuff, but it's almost always internationally focused and stuff like that.
Yeah, correct.
How can we kind of create something which has a little more of an Indian focus in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Even though we don't talk about
Yeah.
like Indian, but it's still from an Indian person's
Yes.
perspective, right?
Yes.
So I think
Yeah.
that was kind of the main thought there.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Like how long into the history of IVM did IVM like start though?
It was fairly so. Sharanya was involved.
A year in? Because
May was still there, yeah.
May was still there, yes.
Yeah.
I was, I joined a little over a year
But
into
actually,
IVM's existence.
We can just figure out the math on this, right? So
Yeah.
we're in December of 2019 right
19,
now.
yes.
3 years ago was December of 2016.
Okay.
Which means that this was being done while most of the other shows were on Savan. So that means probably about a year and a half into IVM's existence.
Yeah. So IVM Likes and the Seen and the Unseen are exactly on the same episode
really?
number. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you know that this would be an ongoing show? It won't
That
stop
was a thought.
at any
That
point?
was a thought, right? Because again, so a couple of things, right? One is I want all of you people who are working over here to be comfortable podcasting.
Yeah,
So having a show which allows you to talk about stuff that you really enjoy,
that's true.
I thought that would be a good way to kind of get people to
Yeah, that's
really
really great. Yeah.
get that, right? To kind of basically see, it's a muscle, right? I mean, like, the more you exercise it, the better you get at it, right? And so, I mean, like that was the kind of, so that was one part of the thought, right?
Yeah.
And the other was we were not doing so much stuff where we had keyword friendly content. And I mean, like, that might be a
Okay.
slightly more cynical this, but when you're talking about, like, movies and books
Yeah.
and stuff like that, that's keyword friendly, right?
Correct, yeah.
So that was another thought that will help our SEO. And then the third thought was it'll be just a fun show to do, right?
Yeah.
It'll be a slightly relaxed kind of, everybody gets to know each other a little bit.
Yeah. And also, like, it plays a very cool part in my life where if I'm watching something cool, I can't wait to recommend it on IVM Likes.
Yeah, we have that
Like,
filter
yeah.
in our heads now.
Correct,
Whenever
yeah.
we're watching something,
Like,
I'm going to recommend this.
Yeah, correct. That's going to be great on IVM Likes.
Yeah.
So how much do you think Abbas and Alika, because you guys have been on a lot more, how much do you think it has changed, or not much at all? As
The
the
format has remained pretty
much
much
universal,
the
yeah,
same.
yeah.
what works, it works.
It works, yes. The amount of stuff people say about the recommendations has varied. Like, there are people who, earlier I think we used to say a lot more about the recommendations. Now we speak more in the second half. That's what I feel.
Okay.
We've got a hang of the fact that we need to give a little recommendation, say like about 5 minutes about the recommendations,
correct.
and move on.
Yeah,
So
but-
earlier we used to go on and on and on about what we were recommending.
Okay. But we've had some recent episodes where I think the recommendation round took too long. Yeah.
So talk about
Yeah,
yourself.
he's talking about himself.
I'm
He
sorry.
starts
The
recommending
Gary
some...
Shandling recommendation.
Yeah.
He's providing 20 minutes about it.
So whenever he starts his recommendation, he sets history to that.
Yeah.
He's talking about the history. You have to really break him, like, Antariksh, what's now? Like, what's contemporary? What are we watching now?
Yeah, for the Gary Shandling documentary, you gave us a history of what the comedy scene was and how
correct,
it came to Gary Shandling,
Correct,
and then you spoke about the documentary. Yeah.
And what Gary Shandling meant and all that.
Yeah.
Like, before I even talked about the documentary. But go check it out again. Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling. 'Cause why not? So, Abbas, you've been on the highest number of episodes.
I think so,
right?
yeah.
Who do you think is the second highest number of episodes?
I think Alika.
Alika?
I doubt it. I don't think I was like that prominent a member in the early
In
stages.
the first
because
30...
I was like the filler person because they didn't have anybody left to recommend anything. They're like, yeah, you come. You usually have something weird to recommend. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll come. And after that, people were like, yeah, you recommend some interesting things
Yeah,
and you have
exactly.
weird views. Come on the show more.
The idea initially was to recommend stuff that is not that well known.
Right.
Yeah.
But then slowly, by the time we would catch up with things, they would become mainstream. But then Alika would always have things that were obscure, like a graphic
Not that
novel
obscure.
or a book series that is not that well known.
Yeah.
So people started responding to that. They would always write to
they?
us on Twitter. Yeah.
Hey guys, please respond to me directly.
Abbas
I
is
don't
very loved.
see it.
Abbas is very loved on IVM Likes. Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Otherwise also.
yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, really, like, our listeners write back to us saying, "Oh, Abbas, we miss you if he's not on an
Yeah,
episode."
yeah.
Or they tell us to be more like Abbas.
I think
Literally, that's been
Abbas
said.
has this
And you
quality
have a
of...
theory about this, Antariksh. Would you like to mention what the theory is?
What was the theory? I forgot.
You said, Abbas, this is you making separate
that's
separate
okay,
YouTube
separate
accounts.
Yeah.
But I think Abbas has this quality where he ties the whole narrative together. So sometimes
Right.
our thoughts are really scattered,
Yeah.
and Abbas will pull it all together and make one
Yeah,
statement.
yeah,
That is what makes
Very
our
deep.
show good, right?
Yeah.
Good
Correct.
person wrangler.
Yeah, I have to save
That's a job,
whenever I see the ship sinking, I have to.
Pick it up, okay.
So you're the violinist. Nice.
By the way, about Alika, she is also a recommendation these days. Like whenever we are recommending stuff, they are also saying, "Oh, we got to know about this from Alika."
What?
So Alika has been, even if you're not there, we talk about her a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, this is because you guys all hear me talking about weird things in office and ask, what is that?
Yeah, so you're like IVM likes off the recording as well.
Oh, thanks, you
But
guys.
since you spoke about the format changing, I think earlier on we had set things like Amit would only recommend fantasy stuff, Sharanya would only do TV shows, Alika would do graphic novels, I would do movies.
Yeah.
I don't know how that has changed much over the years.
So that was actually going to be a part of this.
Oh, okay.
We're going to ask Amit.
I do want to point out that before we used to make sure that everybody's recommendation was a different medium. Now we've just kind of given up. It's like, I recommend 3 books. It's fine.
Yeah, so it'll be a little more scattered.
Okay.
But the game is that we're going to ask you, okay, so who recommends the most of this genre of stuff?
Do we have a list of that stuff?
We have some.
Okay.
So currently we had a producer
Okay.
who would recommend a lot of tech related stuff like apps,
Okay.
tech. Who do you think this would be?
Tech and apps, huh?
Tech guy of
We
IVM.
can
I
give you
know.
some hints. if
No
you-
hits, I know.
No hints.
I'm just trying to think, who could that possibly be, right?
Who's the tech savviest?
Okay.
Doesn't
Can you
necessarily
guys
have
guess?
to. Yeah, I have an idea.
Yeah,
I know.
This is someone recent?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it is someone recent.
Could be Shlok?
No.
Yeah, we'll give him the hint.
Okay.
Someone who's been with you
No,
on a tech
the
show.
word
like,
tech.
Oh, okay.
handle-
Avineet.
Yeah, he would always recommend some really cool apps or.
Yes, amazing app
Yeah.
recommendations.
Yes.
I downloaded like 5 of them.
Wow,
They were really
cool.
good.
Yeah.
How often did that happen, Abbas or
What?
Alika? How often did you hear about some cool recommendation and check that out?
Oh, lots of times.
Many times. Many times.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
In the last recording, Rutika actually sat with paper and pen and she had
Yeah.
4 things written down on her
Yeah,
paper
yeah,
that
yeah.
I want to watch this
Yeah.
after sitting on IVM Likes.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is there's someone who currently recommends a lot of fantasy fiction.
That would be either Abbas or me.
Okay. I think Alika also recommends a lot of fantasy.
Alika
Lot
is
of
more
fantasy,
in the
yeah.
anime space, right? More.
What?
No?
What?
No?
I recommended one anime once.
That was a very popular.
This is very Netflix of you, Amit. I watched one anime and all my Netflix recommendations are anime now.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, but actually, I guess you also do.
Yes.
You do,
Fantasy
for sure.
fiction
I
person.
haven't read a lot more recently.
Okay, that's fine. You don't have to recommend right now. That's already. We're not putting you on the spot for recommendation. All right, this is someone who recommends a lot of comedy-related stuff, comedy shows, comedy, maybe podcasts.
You?
That was too obvious.
Maybe too many hints there. Okay, that's someone who
Actually, Naveen used to also, when Naveen used to be on the show, he used to recommend a lot of comedy related
Well,
stuff.
what was Janam's thing? Janam was
Janam was
Janam
a
had
mixed
some
bag.
weird
Yeah.
Well, she was the one who recommended Human Centipede, wasn't she?
What?
Yeah.
Why would someone recommend that?
I don't know. I actually got a bunch of people messaging me saying that, dude, what are you doing? You're recommending Human Centipede on your show?
Jana was the best horror fan.
Oh god,
You want
that's
someone to
coming,
watch
man.
horror with you, you have to call up Jana because she's
Okay.
like the number 1 horror stan.
Oh.
Janam's thing was also music. She would recommend a lot of
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we have in more recent times we have 2 more producers who recommend a lot of music
Okay.
and songs. Who do you think would that be?
Who would be musical? Anybody play any instruments? Not that I know of. I'm just going to guess names because Radhika, because she works on the 9XM thing, so
No.
maybe she's
No.
into music a little bit.
No.
Okay. Rutika?
No.
No. Okay. Shlok?
No.
No.
Okay, you'll get there. It's Darius and Jude.
Two names left now. But they've come on very few episodes, but
Okay.
whenever they have been here, they've always recommended music.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I should pay more attention to who's recommending what.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know if you're aware, Jude has this amazing talent to be able to write poetry within like half an hour.
Really?
He write really amazing, elaborate poetry.
Okay.
In like half an hour, he'll come with something amazing.
Okay.
So yeah, just a fan.
That's
throw out there.
impressive.
Yeah. So guys, DM Jude for poetry. Okay, someone who recommends a lot of books.
Books, Ritika.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Oh,
that was
that was
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. Someone recommends a lot of like things related to day to day. Like say books, sometimes it'll be can be like animation shows.
Okay.
But they all have to do with the vein of the everyday.
That's Madhuri.
Okay, yeah. I think I described it.
No, when you say somebody who is looking for like big moments and small moments, that's
Yeah.
Madhuri.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that's very
I
cool.
remember my first week at IVM here, and we had to tell him ideas of
Okay.
different kinds of shows.
Alright.
And I had come up with all the day-to-day ideas. You know, if we are talking about chefs, I would say, "नहीं वो जो दीदी घर पे खाना बनाती है, day-to-day, very day-to-day." And he's like, "You know, Madhuri, I like your ideas, but tell me how will I sell them? Please keep that in mind, and then you give me your ideas."
Wow.
So, yeah.
So that's all the
Questions?
That's
again?
all.
There was a rapid fire round. What do we win?
that was it. You win to be on the 150th episode.
But no, we want to ask
No,
you
we want to ask
150
you,
episodes so far. Which has been your most memorable episode? Do you remember any episode like that? That
I remember a couple, mostly because the topic was of my interest.
yeah. So which one? Yeah, tell us about it.
I have good memories about the Pokemon episode because that was really funny and 100% something I can talk about at length
Do you
for
remember who
several
sat for that
hours.
episode?
I'm pretty sure it was Abbas who didn't know anything.
So the conception of the episode came, they were talking about, the Pokemon movie was about to come out, Detective Pikachu.
Okay.
And they were making plans about who's going to watch it. And I said,
Yes.
I'm curious to watch it, but I don't have any idea about any Pokemon. So they started schooling me in the office, and I said, why don't you do it on the podcast? Why don't you do it on Likes?
Yeah.
So essentially the episode was them teaching me
Teaching you
about, or
Pokemon.
telling me about what Pokemon is essentially.
And then did you watch Detective Pikachu?
I did not. But I'll tell you what, it helped me keep up with some of the memes and stuff online. I'm like,
that's
okay,
cool.
now I know if they're making a joke about this Pokemon, what exactly they're making fun of and,
You're welcome.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I remember it was Abbas, Surbi and Karthik and me.
Yeah.
The nerds.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about Surbhi and Karthik? What would they recommend?
What do they recommend?
That's a good question.
Karthik was not on that
Karthik
many
again was an app
episodes.
guy. I think he once recommended the app where the number of steps you take, you can accumulate certain number of points. Janam recommended, but they were both using it where our engineer just told me, but they were both using it where you took some steps, I forget the name of the app, and you could accumulate some points, and based off those points you could buy real things off of Amazon.
Goki has that, right?
Step Set Go was the app.
No,
So he would come up with
yes.
stuff like that, stuff like which is implications in real world, but also pop culture-ish.
Okay,
So
wow.
yeah.
Like how many producers have we changed over the years?
For Likes?
IVM Likes or
About
like
as many
history?
as
For likes,
Geek
for
Fruit.
likes.
So I think Likes is also one of the things that we try and I mean, like, correct me if you guys are wrong, right? But we try and put like people who are first kind trying to figure stuff out,
Yeah.
put them on Likes because there are so many other producers sitting on Likes
Yeah, correct.
that there becomes
It's
a
easier.
little bit of a you get a little backup, right?
That's
True, yeah.
But lots.
Not
man.
that many actually. Sharanya, me, Surbhi, Abhineet.
Naveen was in the producer for...
He was.
Naveen for a bit.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
He was.
five.
Saishri was there.
For a very little while,
Okay.
yes, that's 6, and then you, that's 7.
7.
7
Yeah.
7 in
multiplied
3 years,
by
that's not that bad, actually.
150 episodes, 7
yeah,
producers,
that's fine.
That's
that
not too bad.
Yeah.
And
Especially
I
this is
noticed
a
I
way
was never
station, right? This
asked.
is not really. This is not like a show which I think like is ever going to be a permanent assignment for everybody.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's always going to be something where we're going to try and get new people to
Get
kind
new
of do
people.
this. When
Yeah.
like once we we're a couple of months later when we have some new people in, and
Yeah.
at that point in
Correct.
time, we'll move whoever's off this onto like more other complicated shows.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
then we can do this because
Yeah.
this is a fun show, but this is very dependent on the people who are sitting on the show to do a little prep and come in, right?
Yeah.
The producer does not have that much to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Abbas is looking at me.
Yeah, prep.
No, but I like this whole experimental idea. All the other shows have fixed hosts, so
Yeah.
you usually tune in based on who's going to speak.
Right.
But here you're also excited to know who new is going to speak and
Exactly.
what
Yeah.
new will
Yeah.
we find out. So I really like that idea.
I like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, we are all cool.
Also, Abbas, you still have to answer
Yeah.
which has been your memorable episode.
Okay.
And
The Pokemon one, yes.
Oh, you're going to just copy my answer.
This is not copy paste, Abbas.
I'm still trying to recollect. All IVM likes have melded into one giant. I remember the 30th episode. I think it was the 30th one where we did precisely what Antariksh was asking. We exchanged what each other's recommendations have we checked out. So that was pretty cool. That was
a
one.
fun idea.
Do you remember the horror one? Were you
I
sitting
wasn't
with
on
them?
the horror one.
Were you not?
No, I wasn't.
No.
Must have been fun.
For me, I remember one episode we did with Janam. So me, Janam and Radhika, and we talked about Delhi crime. We had watched that
right.
show on Netflix,
Yeah.
and it got really heavy
Right,
while we
right.
were in the discussion, that we really had to pause for a few moments because we were talking about that kind of content.
Right. Yeah.
So that was one heavy episode.
One recent episode that I really liked, which I've already alluded to before in this episode, is it's an episode I wasn't on, but I heard it. It was the Bards of IVM episode. The one with Natasha Malpani Oswal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
it
these
is.
people read out. I think it was Jude, Rutika, Madhuri. I think you were
Yes.
there, and Natasha sat on the episode, and they read out this various poetries that they had written, penned down themselves.
Yeah.
And it was all,
Yes,
yeah.
we read out our
It's really
How
poems.
do I
Yes.
not know this?
It's really
This
good.
didn't even come into the weekly promo. Otherwise, I would have definitely remembered saying something like this.
Okay.
It must
Like,
have.
I think
because
it-
they were,
yeah.
we were all talking about how everybody's poem was so good at the
Yeah.
end of it.
Okay, all right.
Maybe we
I-
can release the audiograms and literally put those poems
We
up
should,
on
yeah.
our
Let's
feed.
do that. Let's do
Yeah.
that. Let's do that for sure. Let's
Because
make
they're
sure.
different genre. Even
yeah.
if you say poetry, our moods were very different. Someone's
Right.
angry mood, cheerful mood, and we
Yeah.
discovered that these are the kinds of stuff we like to write about.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's where we found out that Jude has this talent of being able to write
Write
poetry within
poetry.
15-20 minutes.
I-
And
I'm amazed. I honestly, wow. I mean, like, I can't remember hearing about this at all.
okay.
But maybe I need to know more about what you guys are doing on the show.
Amit has realized just how talented they are.
Yeah, Natasha had the same question for us. Like, when they hire you, do they ask you that you are equipped with the skills? You can write and you are into arts and all. I said, yeah, that's a part of
Oh, yeah.
the language
One
that
of
we
the
come in.
qualifications.
Yeah.
Very cool. So yeah, how many like staffers have we had on in total? Do you think? Give you a ballpark number. If you remember.
Like on likes?
Yeah, on likes. Like, would you
Almost everyone.
Yeah, must be
Yeah.
at least
Everyone
4,
has been on at
Yeah.
some
On
point, right?
likes at some point or the other,
Okay,
yes. I keep telling the sound department also to come on,
come
but
on.
they're too shy. Which is very ironic.
And the IT department.
Yeah.
I've asked them
Oh,
as
yes.
well.
Yeah, that's true.
Nikhil should be on.
Nikhil should be on.
Nikhil's not been
No,
on yet?
you
Nikhil's
asked him
not been on
multiple
likes.
times.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's scared of mics. He
Yeah,
said
yeah.
he cannot
Really?
speak.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And,
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think has Sharayu ever been on?
Sharayu been on for the Stranger Things episode. yes. Yeah.
Has Kavita ever been on this?
Yeah.
Kavita has been
once.
on a bunch of, not a bunch of, a couple of episodes. There was one about music recommendation, music
okay.
discussions that
All
she
right.
was on. There were a couple more that she's been on.
What
yes,
about
yes, yes.
Priyanka? Also probably not, right?
Priyanka hasn't been on
No,
likes.
Priyanka
Yes.
hasn't been on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, so we should try and kind of get broader. Let's
More
get
people
everybody
on
on.
board.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
get everybody in.
Yeah, we'll just try to pull them in and lure them in. Antariksh,
Yes.
let's plan how to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Antariksh is... okay.
Okay. Did you have like a pilot recording of the episode which was like slightly different than what it turned out to be?
Yeah, we wanted to know how did it start? Like, when we have the idea, we have pilot recordings. What was the pilot of
There
this?
was no pilot for this.
There was no pilot.
There-
We just
this was
hit record.
essentially. So I heard Pop Culture Happy Hour. I wanted to do something like that. I caught May and I caught Sharanya, and at that time our studio wasn't busy like it is now. We were, literally probably doing like 30-40 episodes a month as opposed to like 200 right now, right? So
Yeah.
Now we do 35 a week.
yeah, I
More
know.
than 35
Yeah,
a week.
it's a lot. So it wasn't that busy at that time,
Yeah.
right? And when it wasn't that busy, it was just kind of like, hey, I want to do this. Let's try this out. So then I think I recommended Person of Interest.
No, you recommended Wheel of Time.
One
yeah.
of those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those two. Then I think May recommended that. No, Sharanya recommended
I'll tell
that
you
vampire
exactly.
thing, right?
Yeah, you recommend. Sharana recommended In the Shadows.
Yeah.
The mockumentary.
The mockumentary, right?
Me
And
did
like
film,
some
a
artsy
documentary.
film, some
it was
artsy
called
train film.
That was later. This was about a female taxi driver.
Oh, was it?
That she did. Yeah, I
Okay.
forget the title.
I can't remember either. But yeah, so it was just basically, I was like, hey, guys, let's do this. Can you guys figure out something that you want to tell people about? And I don't know if we really did a second half to that. Did we? I think the first few episodes we didn't really do the second half. I think it was just more do a
Just the
single
recommendations.
recommendation.
Yeah.
I don't think we found a theme to kind of then dive into until
Right.
like a little later.
Yeah.
Wait, so was it just like a 15-minute show in the beginning?
No, because we knew how to talk. And as a Wheel of Time reader, I'm sure that I took at least 12 to 15 minutes to kind of talk about just the Wheel of Time.
I can believe that.
And what we would also do is we'd grill each other a lot about these things that we're recommending, right? So, I mean, like when Sharanya was recommending the vampire mockumentary, right? They were like, wait, but how about like this? And so, there's a lot of kind of like, you'd follow up on the questions and do that kind of thing. So we dive deeper into the recommendations than I think we do now.
Okay, I have one fun round of questions that we can go around with, and we'll call an end to our 150th episode with that.
Great.
So with all these recommendations and all the characters you have in your head, what you have to do right now is look at each one of our faces and give us one pop culture reference. That
Wow.
Abbas,
Reference.
you look like this character, or you are quite similar to this character. So let's play that game, and let's start with Alika.
You are asking the wrong person to start this
No,
game.
you are the most visual person, like who can imagine things visually for us. So it could be visual, it could be a characteristics or someone we remind you of, anything.
Like individual.
There's going to be just
I'll start while
Okay.
Alika
Okay.
thinks about the...
Okay.
So just a reference, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Antariksh reminds me of Beavis from Beavis and Butthead. Madhuri, Lisa Simpson. Alika...
Nobody. I am 100% unique
You would
snowflake.
be... who was the little boy from Coco? I forget his name. The protagonist.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I am so musically inclined.
And Amit would be King Baratheon from Game of Thrones.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay,
You were
I have to come back to Madhuri. Alika reminds me of Stanley Ipkiss from The Mask.
Really? Wait, before he wore the mask or after he wore the mask?
After he wore the mask, but still looking like Stanley Ipkiss.
Okay.
Amazing.
Amit, I'm sure Amit guesses. He looks a little bit like Amit Shah.
A little.
Abbas.
Yeah.
Abbas.
You'll have to see me at the shows, comedy shows
Yeah.
after the office. So
Yeah,
keep that in mind.
I can't tell.
Really?
I can't think of something right now. You look like Vin Diesel, actually, with specs.
Oh,
Like a nerdy
thanks.
version of Vin Diesel. But someone who can't really drive or something. Like not good at what the man is now. Yeah.
Vin Diesel, but not cool.
But essentially, yeah. And Madhuri.
This is
I
a
can't tell
very
something.
difficult
Very
game.
difficult
game.
I did not do this.
Think about it. Okay,
Yeah.
it's just, you can just pick up anyone randomly, not necessary you have to say it for all.
Okay, there is a character in Pulp Fiction who has like a lot of piercings.
Yo.
Yeah.
Go with
This is
the punk
the
look.
girl that Bruce Willis is dating.
No.
Zed's dead.
No. This is the drug dealer's wife.
Marcellus' wife. No,
Oh,
Marcellus' wife
yeah,
is...
the one, Eric Stoltz's wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the like John Travolta's heroin guy.
Yeah.
his wife.
Oh, right.
I like this character now, that drugs, the heroin, so many things I've already said already.
Yeah, that's his,
So who am I?
just because of piercing. Just because of piercing. That's it.
Okay, cool.
I don't know what anybody looks like. I have face blindness, you guys. I can't
And
recognize
now the stretch
people.
also. Like I wanted to think of something. Okay, Madhuri, what do you?
Oh wait, I have one for Abbas.
Yeah.
You are the rock guy from Thor Ragnarok. I forgot his name.
Oh, yeah, even I forgot his name.
The Taika Waititi guy.
Yeah, I got
Korg.
Yeah,
Was it
Korg,
Korg?
yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome. I gave you a
I
cool
like that character.
character.
Yeah, you gave me a cool character.
I know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know of all these like characters to
That's
literally
okay.
point them and name them. But
Yeah.
I've always told this to Alika, that when I look at people, I have this imagery of flowers in my head.
Okay.
So maybe that I can tell you.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Alika looks like daffodils, and she
Oh.
also
Oh.
exudes that all the poems that I've read on daffodils. You are like a sunflower.
Oh, thanks.
Amit is more like Ixora. All those little flowers that come together.
Oh,
With,
that's so much easier.
Yes, you could have done that, Antariksh. You could have been smarter. You could have just picked that out.
Henceforth, the IVM Likes is going to be a flower podcast. We recommend our favorite flowers.
Okay, what flower was I?
You, I have to think. I have to still think. I
Okay,
haven't.
cool.
But I
Even
will
flower you can't come up with.
Can I say something right now? Because Antariksh's hair is vaguely similar to my hair right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because my dad calls me that, he's like, you kind of remind me then of Tintin. Because you have
I love Tintin. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
of
That's
course.
really cool.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I love Tintin, man.
I just got a haircut right
I
now.
know.
I have disappointed all my parents so badly.
For you, I have a character. Have you read the story Kabuli Wala? You can literally
Yes.
pass up as Kabuli Wala with the kind of beard you have. You just need that one stick in your hand and
Cosplay sorted for
That's,
my Comic Con.
that's actually Tintin in disguise.
Okay, nice. Guys, that brings us to the end.
Wait,
of
Amit hasn't gone.
Oh, so sorry.
I did not say a word during this entire segment.
Amit is like this student in the class who's going down. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, because I don't know what to say about this. I really,
Would like to assign us to flowers.
I don't think I'd like to assign you to flowers. I don't think I'd like to assign you to fruits. I don't think
I'll do animals when we do a discussion on his dark materials. I'll
Oh,
give you
wow.
all demons.
That's a good
Yes,
idea.
I'm going to
that's,
read that. That's my next book. It's
Yeah, I
with
know.
me. I
You have to read it. I'm
Yes.
forcing you to.
Yes.
Yes.
I will.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool then, guys. That brings us to the end of the 150th episode. I was right in the end of the 150th episode before Amit said that he wouldn't assign us to anything anyway. So, that brings us to the end of the 150th episode. Thank you, Madhuri, Alika,
Yes.
Amit, and Abbas.
Pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a lovely episode. See you guys soon. You can catch us online. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or website and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at IVM Podcasts.
See you guys.
Bye.
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 Remember the last vacation you took? What about the one you took 3 years ago? Okay, how much do you really remember? It's a question I've asked myself often over a decade of traveling the world. Hey, I'm Utsav and I do not travel the world for a living. I have a full-time job and responsibilities, but I have made traveling the world a priority. Priority enough that I negotiate extra leave in my job contracts, obsessively track my frequent flyer miles, and I'm willing to take off at the sight of a cheap ticket. Yes, I am cheap. I have lived and worked in 3 countries. I understand human behavior for a living. And these experiences have given me unique insights into places, people, and culture. With over a decade of travel behind me, I increasingly realized one thing, that we cannot see everything. So whatever we see, we must see deeply. Because as the film of memory decays, the imprints which will stand the test of time are the ones felt by the immersion of the senses, not by fleeting encounters with them. Postcards from Nowhere is an immersion into the world of slow travel, one story at a time. Tune in every Thursday on the IVM Podcasts app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.
The modern world is obsessed with food and agriculture. Everywhere you look, new and exciting technologies are bringing food innovation to your street market, your grocery store, your doorstep, and your plate. From our quest for the perfect food photos to our rediscovery of ancient grains. Quite simply, food has never been sexier. But guess what? The modern food system is broken. It's a major cause of climate change, antibiotic resistance, and global poverty. So how did we get here, and where are we going? Most importantly, how are we going to feed 10 billion people globally by the year 2050 through better, more sustainable means? I'm Varun Deshpande.
And I'm Ramya Ramurthy. And we work for the Good Food Institute, a global non-profit accelerating the transformation to a more healthy, sustainable, and just food system. The next food revolution is here. On Feeding 10 Billion, we're giving you the inside view. You can tune into us every Tuesday on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts from.